What is going on, everybody out there in the YouTube trucking community? Sean Cahalan, Christian Brother Trucker, coming at you again with another video today. And today we're going to be talking about parking and staying safe. There was a request by one of the viewers, one of you awesome viewers out there that give me all kinds of good ideas on videos to make. I really appreciate the feedback and comments. And so we're going to talk about parking, shippers, receivers, truck stops, way stations, and alternative parking spots. There's quite a bit to it. I know that, on the surface it might not seem like there's a whole lot involved, but there's actually a lot that you need to think about when you're looking for safe parking in a big truck. So to give you guys an update, I am back to training, and I am training a trainee who watched some of my videos and was a viewer on YouTube, and decided to call up Night Transportation and gave him my driver code, and he is based out of the same terminal that I drive out of, and so he was able to get on the truck with me. So I guess it's just a kind of a good thing that happens when you make YouTube videos. You get referrals and you get people that come on that want to train with you, and so that's what he did. He called up Night Transportation and requested me as his trainer, and it worked out. Now keep in mind, if you do call up Night Transportation and you do request me as a trainer, it may or may not work out. Just because it's a 4-week training course, 2 to 4 weeks depending on if you're experienced or not. But it may or may not work out that you end up on a truck with me as your trainer. As much as I would love to be able to train everybody that watches my videos, I don't think it's always possible, but doesn't mean you can't try, right? All right. So, we're going to talk about parking. So, this is stuff that I train my trainees. And so, if you've never gotten this information, hopefully it can help you. And this is, again, coming from a trainer with Night Transportation who has been out here for 8 years. And about 5.5 years of that was back in 2008, before these GPS units came out, before we had satellite view on our phones and stuff like that. And so, technology has really been an awesome, amazing tool to have in order to help with parking and finding locations to park. So, in response to the request video, how to stay safe at truck stops and shippers and receivers, and how do we find parking? There are 3 categories that I'm going to cover. So we got truck stops, and then we've got shippers and receivers, and then we have the rest of alternative parking, rest areas, roadside parking, and parking at scales, and parking at Walmarts, Lowe's, Home Depots, and stuff like that. So any kind of like retail location that you may want to try to park at. And you probably see big trucks parked in these Walmarts all the time, and you may or may not have heard that Walmart, sometimes if you're at a certain Walmart location, you can run into problems. Alright, so first we're going to talk about truck stops. With truck stops, there's a certain etiquette, that goes into driving around truck stops and looking for parking. I'm going to cover a little bit of etiquette so that, when we pull in there and we're all looking for a parking spot, we can all get along. And, I've seen a lot of people get really mad and upset at truck stops because everybody's looking for a parking spot all at the same time. So when you pull into a truck stop and somebody's trying to back into a spot, just stop, set your brake, and wait. Throw on your flashers and be patient. The person's trying to back into a parking spot. These truck stops are tight. They're hard to get into these parking slots. So just set your brakes, relax, and take a minute. Take a beat. Everybody's got a clock. We understand that you're on the clock. We understand you've got places to go. So does everybody else. And so does the guy that's trying to park. He needs to go into his parking spot. So, have a little bit of patience. And like I said, don't be blasting on your horn. Don't be shaking your hands up in the air and acting like a fool because somebody's trying to park their truck, or you see a trainee and a trainer who's trying to park a truck. Again, first off, the trainee's got to learn somehow, and you just need to chill out and give them time. because you yelling and screaming at them ain't gonna help them park any faster. And I've actually seen people lose their crap and hit trucks as they are trying to get around them, and will smack the truck with their trailer and stuff like that. So it's just rude. So just chill out, relax. Another thing is don't speed in these truck stop parking lots. There's a lot of places that you can speed out there. Truck stops is not one of them. It's dangerous. You've got pedestrians out here, and I, for one, if I bring my wife or my kid out here with me and you're rolling through a truck stop 100 miles an hour, I'm probably going to yell and scream at you, and it's not going to go well. Keep in mind that it's not just us drivers out here, and it's not just you. So, you know, realize that there's pedestrians out here. You got truckers that are going to be walking up and down these lanes, and we're going to be going into the store, coming out of the store. Don't, you know, slow down, because you've got more than just trucks in these parking lots. You have pedestrians, you have women, you have children. Okay? Slow down, take your time, chill out. And don't use your Jake brakes. If you're one of those super truckers that has the big old loud barky Jake brakes, don't jake your truck in a parking lot. And please do not blast your horn in the middle of a truck stop where people are trying to sleep. All right, so where to park and not to park. A lot of these truck stops are tight, hard to get into, hard to get out of, and they will have narrow entrances and narrow exits. Do not park in the entrance and do not park in the exit. We all know those guys. We've seen those trucks that are, you know, parked alongside what we call creative parking 101, where they're parked alongside the entrance or alongside the exit. If it's that packed up, keep on trucking and find somewhere else to park. You can use personal conveyance in order to find a different parking spot. You just put in your notes under personal conveyance, you put in notes looking for safe parking, and you can usually continue driving for up to 30 minutes to find a safe haven to park your truck. So just because you pull into one place and you think that that's all the places that you can park because you can't drive anymore, that's not true. You have personal conveyance that you can use to try to find other alternative parking spots. And after you get done watching this video, hopefully I can help you think outside the box so that you can find other places to park rather than plugging up these truck stops. Okay? So don't park in the middle of a row. Don't park in the middle of a traffic lane. Look around the truck stop. Look at where the designated parking spots are, and don't park anywhere else other than the designated parking spots unless your truck is completely out of the way. So in these truck stops, you have big lines of trucks that are parked, and a lot of times you won't have any more lines, but trucks will continue to park and extend out that row, and then trucks that are coming around the corner and are needing to turn can't clear their trailer because they don't have the width to be able to get the tractor and the trailer through there without the trailer off tracking and hitting the truck, i.e. you, who's parked in the way. So try to avoid parking at the end of parking stalls. It's not smart, it's rude, and just don't do it. There's my trainee. He's back for more training. That's Jesse. Hello. So we covered don't park at the end of parking stalls at these truck stops. Don't park in the entrance, don't park in the exits. Don't get creative in these truck stops. You have other options. Do not be that guy that's going to be double parked, and because if you're in my way when I go to pull out, I'm going to be pounding on your door and waking your ass up because you are lazy and you need to pre-plan where you're going to park at night. And like I said, hopefully I can give you some more ideas so that you're not going to be that guy double parked at these truck stops blocking everybody in. Because again, like I said, if you're that guy and I come around a corner and I can't get past your truck, I'm banging on your door and waking your happy ass up. All right, so that's where not to park. If you have the option, you want to park in the back of truck stops. Well, why do I want to park in the back of truck stops? Well, because there's a lot less traffic back there, and you're gonna be playing, you don't have to play curtsy coo with all the other trucks that are trying to come in and find all these trucking spots at 5 to 7 o'clock in the afternoon, 8 o'clock at night. So park in the back. Usually those end rows have more room for swinging in your trailer, and usually they're lit up, and it's just less hectic and chaotic when you can park in the back versus up front by where all the fuel islands are. So you have reserved parking. A lot of these truck stops will have two classifications of parking. You have free parking, which is usually the back, and that's another reason why to park in the back, is the farther you have to walk, it's usually where the free parking is. So usually up front by the fuel islands, you'll have a couple of rows that are reserved, and then each truck stop's a little bit different, but what they'll do is they'll designate about 30-40% of their truck spots for reserved parking. You can call ahead if you know where you're going to be shutting down, and you can reserve a spot before you get there. They'll put a cone out front in front of that parking spot so that when you get there, you can pull right in and not have to worry about finding a spot. You can reserve parking on Pilot Flying J apps, Love's apps, and on the TA Petro mobile app. When you pull into any truck stop or any scenario or any surroundings, look around. Is it lit up or is it dark? If it's dark, look around where you're going to be parking. Walk behind your trailer and use your flashlight if it's dark, and look at the ground. If you see a bunch of broken seals, busted locks, broken bolts, and everything else, hightail it out of there. You don't want to park there overnight. You'll be okay there during the day if you run all night long and you come in at 5 o'clock in the morning and you plan on getting up at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon again. But if you pull in there at 9 o'clock at night and you think that you're going to stay there until 7, 8, you're going to have your trailer broken into. It's a high crime area. That's the first telltale sign that you shouldn't be parking there, is get out and walk around your truck and look for broken seals, broken bolts, and cut locks. Lot lizards and hustlers. So lot lizards are prostitutes. They will bang on your door at 2 o'clock in the morning and ask you if you want company. Usually you just roll down your window just a little bit and you tell them to get lost or you're going to call the cops. Simple as that. Then they'll leave you alone. Hustlers are usually the people that are shucking and jive. They got this big old sad story and hard luck story about they're out of gas, their car broke down, their mom's in the hospital, they need money for surgery, whatever the case may be. Usually you can tell that they're being honest with you or not being honest with you because of how scripted it sounds. And when you start to press in and lean in and ask qualifying questions, they won't have the answers for you. They will redirect, redivert, or try to sway you away from asking them direct questions. One way to avoid hustlers in these truck stops is avoid eye contact. When you come in and park, pull your shades and don't look at anybody. Yes, people are going to be walking around your truck and doing whatever. Just don't pay them any mind. And because if you make eye contact with them, for some weird reason, they think that you want to engage with them and that they can come up and ask you for money. So just, if it's a big busy truck stop, pull your shades, mind your own business, and don't look at people. Then you won't get bothered. All right, shippers and receivers. The first thing I'm going to say about shippers and receivers is you need to get permission to be there. If you don't have permission to be there, most likely you're going to get run off by a guard, or you're going to get run off by somebody that works there. Most big retail chains are not going to allow you to park overnight, even if you're bobtail. Doesn't really matter. The only way that you can park in a Procter & Gamble, Walmart, Lowe's, Distribution Center, Home Depot, or any of these places is if you come in with an empty trailer, you disconnect, and you're bobtail, and you're waiting for them to load your trailer. Then they'll let you go over to bobtail lane and they'll let you hang out, but as soon as your trailer's done, they're going to make you connect up to it and they're going to make you leave. If you don't have business being there, they don't want you hanging out. So you're going to be coming in there for an appointment time, you're going to bump the dock, you're going to get unloaded, and you're going to leave. And they'll enforce it. So don't think that you're going to hang out there very long. And most of the time, if you wait there too long, you're doing paperwork or you're doing something else, making yourself some lunch or whatever, a lot of them will have guards that will circle around and they'll notice that you've been sitting there for too long and they'll ask you to leave. Rest areas. Parking in a rest area, again, it's a lot like truck stops. You want to park in a designated slot. If you do not park in a designated slot, your risk of being hit goes up exponentially. If you're one of those guys that's going to park on a ramp, we all know that you guys are out there, do not park on the exit ramp. Why? Because traffic that's coming off those exit ramps is doing 45, 55 miles an hour, and they're slowing down as they're hitting that ramp. So if you have your trailer hanging out a little bit too far and they're tired and they lean in a little bit too far, they're going to take out the corner of your trailer and they're probably going to kill themselves. And you're going to be the one that's responsible because you were the sitting duck sitting there, and it's going to come back on you. If you have the choice, and if you absolutely have to park on a ramp, at night transportation, by the way, this is against company policy, so I will not tell you that if you work for night transportation that it's okay for you to park on a ramp. If you work for night transportation, do not park on a ramp. You will get written up and you can possibly get fired. So do not park on a ramp at all, ever. If you do not work at night transportation and you must park on a ramp, or you're going to park on a ramp, park on an on-ramp. Why? Because traffic is coming on and they're speeding up as they hit the ramp, and by the time they get down to the end of the ramp, they're going to be accelerated up to 45, 50 miles an hour. They're not going to be coming by your truck, whipping by your truck at 50 miles an hour. You're less likely to get hit. Scales and weigh stations. So a lot of weigh stations will have truck parking. This will vary state by state, but if the truck scale is closed and does not have barricades up, usually you can pull in there and park. In the back area, they'll usually have spots for trucks to park and bring in their paperwork when the scale's open. A lot of people back in the day, back in 2008, 2009, used to avoid doing that because we would get harassed by weighmasters who would come in, or officers that would come in, bang on our door, and want to do an inspection while we were doing our 10 off. Well, now, with the ELDs being the way that they are, DOT is restricted from interrupting your sleep, your break, your 10 off. They're not allowed to bang on your door, wake you up, and force you to do an inspection if you are taking your 8 to 10 off. You may be that guy that runs into the one officer that absolutely insists on doing an inspection on you. And if he does that, just let him know you're taking your 10 off. And, I would appreciate it if you didn't interrupt my sleep or work time. But a lot of them know the law, and a lot of them will not bother you. So you don't have to worry about weighmasters messing with you. And if you park in the back and in the morning, you can whip out to the bypass lane and truck on. A lot of times the exit ramp that comes around from the parking will be the bypass lane. Sometimes it's not. You may have to wake up to an open scale. Be safe. I mean, if you know that your truck's in good shape, it really shouldn't. It's a good option if you know that your truck's in good working condition. If you got something wrong with your truck, don't park there. And you need to go get it fixed. Because if you got it fixed, then it wouldn't be a problem, right? And this is going to vary state by state. In some states, they do not allow you to park in the weigh stations, and some they do. Just when you get in there, use your situational awareness, look around, and make sure that you don't see any signs that say no truck parking, no overnight parking. All right, alternative parking. So these are the spots that you'll find on the side of the road that are shoulders, pull-offs, and stuff like that. You want to make sure that you have a minimum of 5 feet between the fog line and the edge of your truck. So that means don't just pull off the road and have 1 foot between you and the fog line. You're going to be a sitting duck. You're at risk of getting a ticket, getting fined, and if you work for night transportation, again, you're a sitting duck. You have run the possibility of getting fined, getting a ticket, getting points on your license, and losing your job. So I'll give you a couple of pretty easy ways to find these off-the-wall parking spots that you might not normally notice. And at night, they're really hard to see. Pull out Google Maps on your phone and open the Google Maps. It'll automatically center where you are. Put it on satellite view and then zoom out. And when you zoom out and you know the road that you're going to be on, you can scroll with your finger and look for dirt lots and pull-offs and stuff like that along your route. Most of the satellite views are taken during the day, so you can see things on satellite view that you can't see at night. So you can pull into some off-the-wall, like old railway yards. Well, you've all seen them. These little mom and pop truck stops that you blow by at like 65 miles an hour that you just didn't see because it's a mom and pop truck stop. You can see those on Google Satellite View. And usually they'll have shoulders that you can pull off on before these little towns that you go through in all these different states and after the towns. So right before you get into a town and right after you get into a town, look for a shoulder. Usually, in a lot of cases, they'll have shoulder roadside parking, 1 slot or 2 slots. So if you're rolling through town after town after town, that's where you look. It's either within that town or just outside of that town. All right, Walmarts, Lowe's, Home Depots, any retail store out there, do not just pull into their car parking lot and park. Why? Because a lot of these places don't want you in their car parking lot, and secondary is those parking lots are not designed for your big ass truck that's loaded at 80,000 pounds. So when they build these parking lots, they only build them so thick. They usually will put down a 3 or 4 inch mat, which will not hold your truck weight, and you will be damaging their parking lot. A lot of these stores, when they're built and designed, they'll have a designated road that will go around in an alley, and then the shipping and receiving area, which will usually be big old thick slabs of concrete. You're okay to be on those. You'll want to know which way the trucks go in, because usually these Walmarts will have multiple different entrances, as will Home Depots, Lowe's, and any of these other big retail locations that you may be looking for parking. If you have a choice, number one, you want to go in and find a store manager or a shift manager or somebody that is in charge and ask them permission to be there. If you go inside and ask them and they tell you, yes, you can be there, then the chances are you're not going to get messed with. If you do not go inside and ask permission, then you run the risk of getting your truck looted, getting a fine, and possibly having your truck towed off. So you need to have permission from anybody. Just get permission to park. Otherwise, you run a really big risk of getting fined and getting messed with and getting run off. Because almost all the property out here in the United States, boys and girls, whether we like it or not, it's private property. It belongs to somebody else. It's not our call. And it's not our place to just willy-nilly park wherever we want to park. If you park in an alternative parking spot, you will always be running a risk. So use your situational awareness, get permission if you can, and just know that if you don't, you may be getting woke up by a bang on the door, and it may be a cop, an angry manager, or a guard that's going to be waking you up all night long. All right, so if it looks sketchy, if you pull off the road and you find a nice little quiet parking spot, but you're outside of Atlanta or you're outside of Birmingham or somewhere else like that, again, look around you. If it's super dark and you can't see very well and you've got people driving by with their stereos on blast and you can hear their bass from 5 miles away, you're probably in a sketchy neighborhood. You probably don't want to park there. So that makes you at high risk for getting load jacked and possibly getting robbed. So obviously you don't want that. Try to find locations that are well lit or are away from major city centers. Dallas, Fort Worth, any of the big major city centers. Insert name of the city here. The farther out you go from those cities, the safer you're going to be, unless you're in the south central states, Georgia, Florida, and Alabama and Arkansas. So Arkansas is safer than most, but Georgia and Alabama, you definitely do not want to park anywhere off the beaten path around there, because yeah, you will get your load broken into. So that pretty much covers parking. Just make sure you get permission, make sure it's well lit, look around, make sure you don't see a bunch of broken seals, broken locks, and just make sure that you're being a good steward out here, and that you're not just trying to park your truck anywhere you want to park your truck, because it's not your property. So hopefully that helps you guys. I know that some of this stuff I had to learn over the course of years and years and years and years. And so hopefully it helps make your lives better. And if you are thinking about coming tonight, you want to come over and drive for night, they have driving schools and they have programs that can help you get your CDL. And they also have different types of training so that you can get your CDL and get out on the road and do a 2-week program with Top Gun, or you can do a 4-week program over the road. And so they have a lot of options. Or if you have your CDL already, have some experience, normally you can just come in, go through driver qualification, and get on the road pretty quick. But if you do end up giving them a call, let them know that Sean Cahalan said they're awesome. Drop my driver code 24807, and I would really appreciate that, because that helps me get some referral bonuses, which results in a little bit bigger paychecks, and I always appreciate that. So, as always, thanks for watching, and God bless you all.